3.
Welcome everybody to our March Police Services Board meeting. Our Board Secretary Nancy has taken attendance for us already. Councillor Pierce will be joining us late today. So at this time, we'll get started in with the agenda that is before us. We'll need a motion to approve the agenda, please. Mayor Bailey, and seconded by Member Verhey, and all those in favor.
Note in the addendum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. There was an addendum sent by Nancy on Monday. So make sure that we have the right, that we're all working from the same agenda. And the motion passed. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest at this time? None? Okay, so we have a gentleman here with us from Burford, Mr. Marcos Borda. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'd rather you say it than me say it wrong.
It's Marcus Bordadagua.
Oh, I was close. Okay,
Yeah.
in my head. So Marcus, you're joining us today to talk about your community and some speeding concerns. Did you want to start off, and then we can open up maybe for some questions and some discussion after you've said a few things?
For sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me in today's meeting. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak to everyone. The reason I was requested to come into this meeting was to talk about making some changes in the downtown core in terms of the speed limit, and hopefully finding out more information about how we can get a certain part of King Street designated as a community safe zone, which then would have increased fines within that section. Additionally, something I was wanting to talk about too was the possibility of speed cameras through the downtown core, or one camera. A reference of that would be I believe it's the Catholic school in Ayr is recently getting one installed, or it is in function. Also just essentially trying to understand what the process of that would be to, if not the speed camera, then having the community safe zone designated in a certain area within King Street. Given that, it is a school route, there is buses picking up students for high school on that street as well. With the heavy truck volume as well, I think it would be a good idea, in my opinion, and just kind of go from there essentially. I know that recently the Brant OPP has hired 2 additional traffic services police officers, one of which I've spoken to recently in the area, and that day that I had spoke to him, he had made the mention that the police vehicle that he was using that day wasn't equipped with radar, because the typical cruiser that he used was sent to Ottawa, and that the vehicle he had didn't have any radar, and I kind of found that counterproductive, given that he might be one of the police officers that is supposed to be doing traffic services within Burford, or the county of Brant for that matter. So just kind of wanted to get some light on that, and again, the community safe zone. And to give you some insight, I live in the downtown core, so we see the amount of traffic that goes by every day, and the speed at which most of those vehicles travel at. It is posted 50, but as many of you will know, even down Maple for that matter, it's posted 50 as well, and people are not doing 50. And I think that we need to bring more awareness to that matter, or through either more police presence, issuing more fines, something of that matter, to try and get the community to understand that there is a posted speed limit. It is a school traffic area. Slow down essentially at the end of the day, right? So I think that's all I really had to say, and willing to answer any questions or And whatever I need to do to help the process, by all means, I'm at the disposal.
Great. Thank you so much for bringing your concerns forward. Speeding is a concern for all of us. And obviously, as you know, the traffic management unit as well is targeted to that area. Is there any questions or clarifications or discussion that we'd like to have right now to seek any additional input or feedback from Marcus? Member Verhey?
Through you, Madam Chair. Hi, Marcus, and thank you for your presentation. Question about the, I don't know if it's called a speed spy or it's just that that photo radar gadget that tells you how fast you're coming into town. There was one that was set up when you're heading, I think you're heading west into town past the Esso there by Davis Fuels.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Did you find that effective and helpful for speeders?
The issue is that as soon as you get to Foodland, essentially, and you come to that intersection, if that light is green, people tend to just continue on at their 70-kilometer or 80-kilometer rate right through. But then if you catch the red, then they're accelerating through that intersection. So you kind of, especially if it's a truck that has someone who's driving who's hearing impaired, so they have a loud exhaust, so they know the car is working. You know, you hear that acceleration from the stoplight pretty much all the way down King Street until they get past a certain point, right? But yes, you know that did help. But then the human mind gets conditioned once it starts seeing something, right? It's just like, oh, it's just the light. It's just telling me how fast I'm going. It's not really, you know, it's not really, there's not going to be a consequence from having that light go off and say that you're doing 70 instead of 50, you know, unlike having a police officer or of something of that nature pulling you over and saying, hey, did you not see that the thing was telling you you're going 70? You know, and here's my radar gun telling you you're going 70. Yeah, so it did help. And the other part of it too, I guess, is, you know, I'm sure that the county has conducted some kind of traffic survey as well, because I know there's been always this great long talk about having a truck bypass. So, I mean, you could even look at that data and see how much vehicle traffic, and then you take an average of that over a year and you think of how many vehicles are probably doing anywhere from 10 to 20 over the speed limit, and you see, okay, well, the risk of a high accident is there if we don't do something to manage the speed better or enforce the speed more frequently through our downtown core.
Member Verhey?
Just a follow-up question through you, Madam Chair, to Marcos. Does that, again, somewhat out of ignorance because I'm no traffic expert, but I guess your logic is then to, if there was some sort of community safety zone set up that would implement higher penalties for speeders, you're thinking that would work then, as opposed to, you know, if the camera idea isn't really working and whatnot, then I guess it takes more of a police presence with the higher penalties. Is that?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm leading, and just to give you some reference too. So I'm a CET. So when it comes to understanding traffic control and traffic control devices, I'm very well versed in that, and I am actually in the road construction business myself. So understanding that having just that photo ID kind of saying, hey, you're over the speed limit, doesn't really work. In my opinion, like I said, it just conditions the brain. It's just sort of like when, you know, you go through a construction site and they leave a right lane closed sign up overnight and the right lane isn't actually closed, and you're driving through going, oh, I thought the right lane was closed, right? So it's just having that presence of a police officer there more frequently, I think, would have that, you know, oh, is today my day that I'm going to get caught? Or, you know, or maybe I should just slow down through down here. They like to pull people over here more frequently, kind of thing.
Thanks.
I know council has been discussing the concept of photo radar, and I understand there's quite a bit of work involved in the logistics of all that. But there is a school in this area, you said, right, that then could be considered potentially a community safety zone.
There's two, sorry, there's two. So there's the Catholic school further down on King, and then there's the public school on Alexander. And
Right.
Alexander, for instance, is a 40 zone. And again, like people coming in and out of the home hardware plant there, 3 o'clock hits and they're speeding to the stop sign to get home. And I mean, I can appreciate that, but at the same time, around that time is when kids are getting out of school and buses and everything of that nature, right? So.
Councillor Pierce, is there anything that you're able to take back to council when you deliberate some of those logistics?
Yeah, first of all, Madam Chair, excuse me for being late today. I did let you know that. I guess my take on this, and again, apologies for coming in late. There's two things, and Marcus, don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not saying the speeding isn't happening, because we know it is across the county. But what we have found when we put the speed spies up there, when you're sitting there and you're seeing the traffic coming up, you're thinking, oh, that guy's got to be doing 60, 70 kilometers an hour. Where the speed spy data, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, kind of rebuts that, and they might be going 55 or 57 or something like that. Again, it's still a posted 50. They're going over the limit. I think that's the biggest concern here as far as safety is concerned. So again, I'm not saying that it's not happening, but when we get the data from the speed spy, us as council is a little shocked at times to think, wow, we thought they were going quicker down there. So there, we can look at potentially getting one of the speed spies, which is different than the sign that flashes how fast you're going. We can look at potentially, because we do have those around the county, we can look at putting one of those down on King Street there, right in the downtown core. But I can definitely bring it up to council, because it is something that we're looking at, and I mean, this is the perfect board to bring these at, because the OPP do their, they do their focus patrols and that sort of thing. So that might just lead to a potential another focus patrol downtown Burford. So that's kind of what I can add to that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pierce.
If I can add to Councillor Pierce's comment there, I agree with you in the sense that this deception or a visual of a truck going down the road may seem like it's going faster versus than what it's actually going. But reference points, just as OPP uses as well, when you have hydro poles spaced out at 20 meters in space, if a truck is traveling at a certain speed, you can pretty much count how fast, from one pole to another, and figure out how many meters per second he's traveling, convert that back into kilometers per hour. And I've done that on a couple of occasions to see if my estimate is correct or not. And most times, even with a big transport truck, because I know even visually it seems like they're going faster than usual, sometimes my calculations come out at the 60, 70 mark. And as a transport truck traveling at 70 kilometers to try and stop at that rate, especially if he's loaded, it's not going to happen.
I agree.
Mayor Bailey, you had your hand up, and then I wondered if Inspector Ferguson also maybe wanted to join in on the conversation.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, to Marcos, thank you for coming today. We are doing lots of traffic studies right now, and we as a council were surprised to know that we just can't put them anywhere. We have to put them where we need to put them. Schools obviously are something we can put cameras on, but the main street of Burford, King Street in Burford, is like the main street of any St. George and all of them. No one slows down for the yellow light. They speed up, and that gets things kind of crazy right off the bat. We have found here in St. George, which is not unlike your situation, that some of the younger people in their big, as you said, big trucks with loud mufflers, they use those signs to see how fast they can go as they pass them. And we had people actually watching people do that. Instead of slowing down for these things, they were speeding up to see how fast they were going and then talking about it later in the afternoon. So they're not good for everyone, because like everything gets abused. But we do have some plans, and Burford is one of those situations where your highest speeds of your highest highways are right on top of your schools, and it makes for a very dangerous situation, because as you know, those trucks fly down King Street, and once you're off on, as you said, onto Maple, you seem like you're out of town and you can just do what you want to do because there's no one else there to watch you. So we understand the speeds on Maple and we understand the speeds on King, but we have learned through investigation through the county that we just can't put cameras anywhere, but we are looking to put some in Burford, and we're going to have to do something soon because now that things have opened up again and kids are going back to school, we have to know that they're anxious and they're not paying attention like they used to when they were going to school every day. So it's kind of a novel thing for kids to even be going to school right now, and they're not paying attention like they used to even. So we have a responsibility to the kids to get it done sooner than later. That's for sure. So thank you for coming today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Inspector Ferguson, was there anything that you want to add or any questions?
Yes, good morning through you, Madam Chair. Marcos, I wish everyone had the same passion towards traffic safety. Oh, and I just lost the lights in my office here. Hold on a second.
Technology. I agree with Inspector Ferguson's comments about your knowledge and understanding of the issue is much appreciated.
Thank you.
Sorry, if I could just further that, Madam Chair. Marcos, sorry to interrupt that there. Yes, thank you for coming this morning and speaking to us about that. I was listening to you speak to those points, and it's the same conversations that we're having with our Brant Safe Streets. So OPP are heavily engaged with conversations and meet with them every 2 weeks. And if you get on their Brant Safe Streets page, you may see some of the speed spy data there, some of the information or the previous complaints actually. So take a look there, and I can tell you that we have done our own speed spies, and those are the covert ones, the ones that you wouldn't see as you're coming up, very different than the speed signs that measure that speed. And in speaking to Councillor Pierce's statement, the speeds are not excessively high compared to some other parts of our county. And I know you can appreciate that we have a responsibility for the entire county when it comes to speed enforcement. So no, I thank you for those comments. If I could just touch maybe on the vehicle being in Ottawa, I just wanted to let you know, very unprecedented times for us. Responses were quickly deployed, vehicles were deployed. We're suffering the same struggles with some vehicles being in service, waiting for parts. So somebody may have grabbed that vehicle inadvertently, but as the time went on, we certainly made efficiencies and we were able to bus people up to Ottawa. We also have handheld radars and LiDARs for our officers to use. So not every vehicle will be equipped with stationary radar. But thank you very much for taking this time to talk to one of our officers out there too.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it was very knowledgeable, and we had good discussion. And he also described that my concern was, sorry, I should say, he also kind of validated my concern because he had noticed what I was noticing, especially through that time period of, you know, from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. People getting home or leaving Burford to go home if they work out of town. And then, you know, as you can appreciate too, like it's never seems to be when there's a police presence. It always seems to be when they're not around that you hear it or see it more frequently. But I just feel like if there is a more of a presence, and it's like I said earlier, is today my day I'm going to get a ticket or not? And it kind of puts that in the community's mind that, you know, hey, they do traffic services here more frequently than they used to, and I got to slow down. I mean, and with the matters of the signs, I know it may have to go to council and be passed that way. And if there's, you know, I'm even willing to donate the signs if I need to, because that's how much I care about having that change. So again, like I said, if there's anything I can do to help push that change to a community safe zone through that section, by means, if it's a matter of getting petitions, getting the community behind what my want or push is for the community, then that so be it. Like, I just was kind of looking for some direction along with bringing up my concerns today. So.
Is there any other questions for Marcos this time? Yes, Heather?
Through you, Chair, I just wanted to offer that I can reach out to Marcus and talk him through the process to ask council for a community safety zone and the speed limit changes he's looking for.
That would be great. Sorry,
Thank
Heather,
you.
I don't know. I know you have a new title now, but so you're no longer the clerk. You're something.
General Manager of Corporate Services.
There you go. Thank you. And so you're now also attending police service board meetings on our for the county as well, right? As staff? Yep.
Yeah, I will be taking Robin's spot on the police board, so I'll be here to support anything you guys need for the county.
Great. So that's an option there, Marcos, with Heather's offer there to also help bring some communications forward to council in terms of that request. And then I think Inspector Ferguson has some really good feedback from you in terms of the community needs. And I think to echo Mayor Bailey, speeding in all of our Brant communities is certainly an issue. People are going faster. It seems like they're going faster and faster all the time, and I agree with you. There's never a time when the police officer is there exactly when you see something happening. But yesterday would have been a great day to get a lot of people going through the stop sign in St. George as I walked my dog. Nobody stopped, and I wish I had someone there with me to validate that. But one of these days that might happen. But at any rate, your concerns are noted. They are taken very seriously. The 5 police service board members here, we do want the best safety for our community. We do want to ensure that we have all of our communities well protected, and we'll work with OPP and Inspector Ferguson with the resources that she has to see what options there are. Mayor Bailey and Councillor Pierce can also bring your concerns forward to council, along with Heather's offer to help you as well, advocate for that as well. Is there anything else, folks, that we've missed here? No. Again, thank you so much for coming forward. I don't want you to think that your efforts are in vain. That nothing's going to happen. Maybe it might not happen tomorrow, but I know one thing with this group of people around this table is that something likely will materialize from all of this, from hearing what your concerns and seeing that. And I hope that you'll see that in Burford shortly.
Appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's time and having me today. And I look forward to talking with you, Heather, and getting that process rolling.
Great.
Okay.
Have a
Thank you,
great
everyone.
rest of the day.
You too. Thank you. Take care.
Nancy, do I need to do anything? Yes.
If I can get a motion to receive the presentation.
Thank you. So a motion to receive the presentation from Marcos, please. Member Brown has put that forward, and Member Verhey has seconded it. All those in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. That was a good discussion. I think we could replicate that discussion in any one of our communities here, unfortunately, in the county. So moving on to number 5 on our agenda is the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting, February 15th. Everybody's had a chance to review those, I'm sure. Is there a motion to approve those? Councillor Pierce and Mayor Bailey, and all those in favor of the motion to approve? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes that you want to discuss now? I think the only thing I'll just raise is an information point in case not everybody was aware, is thanks to Councillor Pierce for his advocacy at council. The challenge coin idea was presented, and council has offered to pay the full cost of the challenge coin. So thank you, Councillor Pierce, for doing that, and Mayor Bailey. I watched that part of council meeting, and it was a very well received project, so we really appreciate the support. Go ahead, Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, just very quickly, it was, as I say, it was a no-brainer. Council was in full support of it, thought it was a fantastic idea, and they were happy to do it. We are happy to do it. Leave it at that.
That's great. And I understand that Staff Sergeant Gutenberg has got the order in progress, and looking forward to seeing them arrive shortly.
Perfect.
We'll circle back with with Police Service Board on the guidelines, potentially for our next meeting. I just haven't had a chance to finish that off, and I wanted to run that by Staff Sergeant Gutenberg first, but we'll bring that back for everybody's review next meeting. Anything else from the minutes that you want to raise? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into section 7, and we'll turn over to Inspector Ferguson for the detachment commander's report.
Morning, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone. We'll go right into the report here under the staffing section. As you know, all of our officers have returned back to Brant County from their deployments in Ottawa and Windsor, as well as some assisted in Sarnia. We're excited to welcome another experienced police officer. I had the opportunity to meet him last week in Aurelia, PC Morelli, who will be coming to us from the academy around the first week of April. He comes with 20 years of experience, so that is certainly beneficial for us here in Brant County. I have not had an opportunity to meet the 4 new recruits that just started down at Elmer at OPC, but they are there now, and we are excited that they'll be joining us sometime in the summer as well. Constable Jones here has been identified as a successful candidate in a recent AGCO competition back in February. So we are looking at a date for him to have that lateral move, and then we will receive an officer in his place. If I can go on to the community mobilization on the next page, Constable Murphy has been very busy again this month. She assisted with 7 crisis calls as well as 21 coast referrals here. She completes her follow-up visits within the county regularly and has worked closely with victim services on a recent incident that we had here. Victim services has also joined us here at our detachment part-time. They're actually at the front lobby of our detachment. They've come occasionally with the dog Eddie, the victim services dog, and a very welcomed addition here. They'll be joining us until they receive a spot at the health hub, but it's been very nice to have them here with us. When looking at the youth in the school resource officer report, Constable Gagnon is very busy with her schools. Some of the schools have welcomed her back in despite COVID restrictions throughout, and she has been making a lot of headway there with the students. Some of her presentations are still online, and she continues to work away with the kids there and the youth in our community. Our media, again, very busy. Constable Vitalis every month has additional posts. If you've followed any of our media, he did 68 new releases this month, and most of his are reaching over 30,000 people. So it's great for us here, great to get messaging out for us as well. In the community engagement section, you'll see that Staff Sergeant Gutenberg has prepared the focus patrols and the hours that we have there. So far, totally the 64 hours of patrol and 37 tickets specifically in those focus patrol areas. And our traffic management unit, again, continues to be very busy. You can see that I put the totals for the month of February as well as the running totals for the year. So those statistics are there. In the Crime Stopper section, again, Crime Stoppers continues to be very busy. It's for Brant and Brantford. I have a meeting with Mr. Hart coming up very soon, and they certainly are lots of information and lots of great things that Crime Stoppers doing within our communities. The noteworthy occurrences are there for you, and I just want to go over the trends and actions section. So as we've discussed before, the ICON statistics are 2 months behind. So these are the December statistics in our court. And you can see there that there was an increase in total charges for the month of December of 2021 with respects to 216 to 491 charges overall. So that's an increase for of 13.6%. So of note, the speeding charges were considerably higher compared to the 2020 December. Violent crime in February is down 18% year to date, and property crime is down again by another 22%. Our street crime unit here is doing exceptional work linked with the Oxford Street Crime Unit. So there's 6 of them that are doing a lot of work within Brant County. So we will probably see additional numbers go up for those street crimes offenses in the next couple of months. The drug crimes I put in there because the data showed quite a considerable increase and quite a considerable decrease, but it really is truly only 1 more possession charge and 2 less trafficking charges for the month of February compared to February the year before. There was an increase in both personal injury motor vehicle collisions as well as property damage for February, and that could be due to the weather. We did also suffer the loss of another life in a fatality in February. So that was also very difficult here. The vehicle-related property crimes also continue to increase. They trended up again for another month in a row. Stolen vehicles and theft from motor vehicles have gone up. We tasked our analysts to look at those stolen vehicles and connect with our neighboring municipalities to try to determine trends. And I had an opportunity to speak with the auto theft unit out of York Regional Police, and they are also experiencing the same types of trends there. Mental health calls saw a slight decrease in the level 1 mental health calls, and that's where the mental health call is the primary reason why we are there. And the mental health calls combined, so all components of mental health for the month of February increased, as well as year to date. They are still going up. 911 calls are down compared to 2021, and alarm calls were significantly higher in February for some reason. I don't have any explanation for that, I'm sorry. Domestic disturbance calls increased in the month of February by 21% compared to last February, and they are up slightly for the year. And our foot patrol number hours are on the bottom there. And pending any questions, that's our report for February.
Thank you, Inspector Ferguson. On the alarm question, I was going to ask you this anyways, but when you have on page, in the detailed stats, on page 28, do you think this is a pre-pandemic or a return to pre-pandemic numbers? Because in 2020, for February, there was 30, but then in 2021, there's only 13. We were kind of still all in lockdown mode last winter at this time. And then now we're back to 29 for 2022. So is this a return to business and all the other things, like return to normal kind of thing? Because if that's the case, I mean, we're only speculating, but I guess my concern is that there's 25 warnings issued. We're really not having a deterrent on alarm calls the way we had intended. Yeah.
In response, Madam Chair, it could be the reopening back and people setting the alarms at their homes and at their offices. It could also be because February experiencing some significant weather events could set off a false alarm with the power outages, and we had quite a few in February at different times. So it's really, I'm really not able to tell you that without pulling each of the alarms and finding out the cause, but I can find out if you'd like, and then we can certainly look at whether or not the warnings are being appropriately applied.
I mean, I realize it's low-hanging fruit, but I'm abundantly aware of the limited resources that you folks have, and I feel that most of us would like to see those resources being better utilized to things in the community that are maybe, not saying that alarm calls aren't a high priority, but if they're false alarm calls, then the time spent could be better spent elsewhere. But Mayor Bailey and then Member Brown.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, to the inspector. Crime Stoppers, are they financially sound now? Has that all come back? Do they have enough money, and are they working with their own budget now?
For you, Madam Chair, I'm looking forward to my meeting with Mr. Hart, because that is one of the questions that I'm going to ask. I know back in 2017, when I was first up here, there were some difficulties with it. Brant and Brantford is one of the few that we don't have a dedicated coordinator financed to them. Alternatively, Norfolk and Haldeman, they have a dedicated person that is full-time there. So I know that a lot of the activities, the fundraise, are a little bit more difficult for our board here in Brantford, but I will speak to him about that and see how things are going. I know he would like a dedicated coordinator that can do a lot of the fundraising, but they at this current time they don't have one.
And follow up through you, Madam Chair. If there's anything we can do as a council, please let us know. You can supply some sort of a report after your meeting. That'd be great. Because we at the county find it a very valuable situation, and we'd like to make sure that it stays running and that they have what they need. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That context is helpful because I do see surrounding areas doing fundraising for the Crime Stopper program, and I noticed that we don't have anything here in our community, so that helps explain the context as to why we don't see that here. Member Brown, you had a comment or question?
Just on the alarms, Madam Chair, yes, it's discouraging. The alarm numbers are up, but I think the positive in it is, of the 41, only one of them is a repeat offender. And that was the goal of the escalating fine scale that we put into place. I guess anybody can have a problem for different reasons, but it's the repeats that are very discouraging. And we only have one this year, so I chalk that up to a positive.
Okay, so any other questions? Councillor Pierce, I hope that on page 15, you'll be able to share with council that the traffic management unit did not issue any warnings. They only issued tickets.
You're stealing my thunder, Madam Chair. You're stealing my thunder.
Well, great minds think alike, right?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, just a couple things. First of all, I guess it's on page 12 of our report when we look at the mental health related occurrences. There's been a definite trend upward over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, which is concerning, but I'm very proud the fact that we do have connection with the MCERT, and we've got PC Murphy involved, and with the coast referrals and stuff like that. So I'm proud to say as a community that we have these supports in there now, which we didn't in the past. So I think that's huge. As we all know, mental health is a very serious concern. There's a lot of it out there that still goes unseen. But I think we're doing what we can at this point in time as a community. So that's a good thing. But it's kind of lack of better words, it's kind of scary when you see the upward trend on something as important as that. So, but again, I think we're doing as good a job as we can with the helps out there, and that's a good news story. Now I'll just go to my page. I wish I could flip this around and show you, because I actually circled that and went no warnings with a little smiley face. So that's I was very happy to see that, as a matter of fact, Madam Chair. Thank you for helping me out with that one there on page 15. Also, if we go to under noteworthy events, now I'm taking this as a good news story. If you look back through the last 3 or 4 or 5 months of our noteworthy events, there was a whole bunch. There was 2 and 3 pages, and this month seems to be a little less, which is a great thing, for everybody concerned. And our impaireds appear to be down as far as the noteworthy. So that's also a positive thing, because I know I spoke about that many times, and that's great that those are down. On page 18, just a couple of points, and it was talked about with the alarms and that sort of thing. So I appreciate the dialogue on that. I've also highlighted the fact that the speeding charges were up. The very last line of page 18, it's got foot patrol hours. We're at 44%, up 4%. That's again, good news story. And that's unfortunately leading me into page 20 when we look at the overall patrol hours. If we look at the overall patrol hours and we compare February 22 to February 21, and I know we had people in Windsor and Ottawa and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if that kind of led to this, but if we look at the actual number of hours, like we're over 300 hours down this February than we were last February. I'm just curious, is it like was something changed, or was it just a matter of our resources were elsewhere? It's just, I'm curious about that when we get that big of a drop year over year. Wondering if anybody could speak to that.
I'm not sure who Inspector Ferguson is.
Through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I can address Councillor Pierce's concerns there. It's not for us lack of wanting to patrol. We did have some major weather events that impacted us in February, which would play a dramatic part in the reduction. Plus the support we lent to Ottawa, Lambton, and Windsor regarding members being assigned there. That also played an impact, having a few less members there. So the effects do appear to be downward there, but it wasn't from a lack of officer involvement directly. It was just due to circumstances that were beyond our control.
No, and I appreciate that answer. And I would never say it's for lack of support or effort, because that's absolutely, we've got a 150 million% all the time by all our officers. So that's a fantastic thing. But as you know, those are the questions as counselors that we're asked when they see those type of numbers. They're going, hey, what's going on here? And then I'll wrap it up in a nice little bow, Madam Chair, with another positive on page 25. When we look at seatbelts, it appears people are buckling up, which again is a great thing. And it's just, different things that I pull from reports and stuff like that. And that to me, that sticks out. And that, again, that's a good news story. That's a safety story. And I'm happy to see that, because it's such a simple thing to do, to just, click, right? It's so simple to do. And it's great to see that people are buckling up. Other than that, that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pierce. Just before I go to Mayor Bailey, just to follow up on the foot patrol hours, I would be remiss if I didn't advocate for the rest of the county. I appreciate the foot patrol hours have gone up, but in some areas, north and east, they've actually gone down for the month of February, which I understand is compounding with all the other issues that Staff Sergeant Gutenberg explained, but just want us to be cognizant that there are some parts of the county where it has gone down and some parts where it's gone up. So it hasn't been across the board increases. And I know from speaking to citizens that visibility and that presence that the OPP has in the community is really important to see. So I just wanted to note that there are some communities that were down. I don't mean to be a downer to Councillor Pierce's positive stuff as well. So Mayor Bailey, over to you.
Through you, Madam Chair, just to finish things off, thank you, Angela, for welcoming Victim Services into the OPP station. They're a great group of people, and thank you for accepting Eddie the way he is. And that is one of the reasons why we wanted the health hub, so that we could bring services that we've been used to and aware of in the cities, in Brantford and stuff, and giving them sort of a more community-based face. And for you to house them until we were ready for them was a very nice thing for you to do. So thank you for that. Be good to the dog.
I was speaking with Constable Gagnon about the school work that she does, and we have the report on page 13 of the different things that she's out and about doing. And when I listen, I think she's a fast talker anyways, but when I listen to her day, she is very busy interacting with the youth in our community. And I guess I just wanted to highlight the way that this community safety and well-being team was restructured, I think has really brought some efficiencies to this position, in that my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Inspector Ferguson, but my understanding previously with school presentations, they might have been assigned to various officers within the detachment to attend. And then if something came up where their time was needed somewhere else, those presentations might have had to been postponed or canceled or what have you. This way, with Constable Gagnon out there and responsible for all of that, she's able to get to all the different places that she needs to be and interact with the students without canceling things. Of course, obviously, if she's needed as well. But it looks like she's getting some good interaction with some pretty important safety issues for the kids. Vaping, and in the public schools, that's a concerning safety trend as well. Anyways, I just wanted to positively comment that it sounds like this is really, the outreach is really increased because of the attention to the position.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. She certainly has been very active since going into that unit. The corner office here in our building is always a buzz because they do connect with each other with respects to even a child with struggling with any mental health, and our community mobilization officer, PC Murphy, in there, as well as our media. They throw around ideas all the time, which is really nice to see there. It was that we had the old BIP system where officers individually had a school, and now with the OPP Kids program and with Constable Gagnon being dedicated to that, she's certainly hitting all of those schools. And she's one of our bilingual officers as well, so she is attending the French schools to deliver that program to them. So it certainly has increased our outreach. You're correct.
Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. If I can just add to that, I spoke earlier about the services and the helps that we have as a community and stuff like that. And it's very interesting, you take Constable Gagnon and prior to that, Constable Ken Johnson, when he was in the school and stuff. When I went to school, maybe a few years ago, when you saw a police officer in the school, it was and now, as having the officers in the school interacting with the kids, it's such a bonus to have that. And again, it's just one of the services that we've been able to, to give to our community. And I think it's just it's a great thing now. It's no longer a bad thing to see an officer in the school now. And with the one-on-ones that they get and the relationships that they build with these kids and the trust, I think it makes it so much easier for any of the kids that have any sort of issues or something like that to open a conversation with the officer, and maybe vice versa, because they get to know each other and you can tell if somebody's off or something like that. So I think it's just a fabulous help that we have for our younger generation, which we never had years ago, and it was the stigma, like I say, the stigma of having an officer in the school is like, oh, who did what, right? And now it's like, oh, yeah, they're here, and it's part of the day to day. So again, I got warm fuzzies happening today, Madam Chair.
That's great. Whatever chair you're sitting in, that's great. We all need one of those.
Well, I'm 3 days away from Mexico, so that may have something to do with it.
Well, that's probably a little bit of a contributing factor. I just wanted to add to Councillor Pierce's comments, abundantly aware that there's other areas of our province that don't have the same relationship between schools and policing, and have actually removed police officers from their school for various reasons, that they've done that. And I think we just need to make sure that we remember that as our community grows, we are bringing in more families from perhaps more urban centers who may not have the same relationships with police that we currently have here in the county. And so I just want us to remember that we may have residents or students or youth that may not have the same experiences, and this opportunity to maybe turn that into a positive and a positive relationship, as to Councillor Pierce's points, is really important too, to have that visibility and that relationship with those students, and to turn that around maybe from previous experiences when they lived elsewhere. So that's an opportunity for us as a county as well. Any other questions or comments for Inspector Ferguson? Lots of good discussion, lots of happy vibes, but also some good feedback for Inspector Ferguson to be able to use as well. And I wish I was going to somewhere warm in 3 days as well too. I'm sure we all do. Okay, if there's no other questions for Inspector Ferguson, thank you so much. We briefly talked about the false alarms, which is on page 31 of our package. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just don't understand how the alarm calls for OPP is 29 occurrences that they track. The county issued 25 warnings and 1 second notice, so that's only 26. So there's 3 missing somewhere along the line. I don't know what happens between the data and how it's decided upon and who makes the decisions as to how they're given an issue, a warning or not, or whatever, but just flag it that there's, for a numbers junkie like me, there's something missing. So I'll just leave it at that, with maybe county staff to look at, or however. Anything else on the false alarms report anybody wants to raise or discuss? Member Verhey?
Yes, Jennifer, I don't think you're beating a dead horse. I think it's every month we look at it and there's always a question or two, but maybe just a quick 15-second overview of how that works again, so that we can refresh our memories on how that information is communicated between county and OPP.
Heather, is that something that we can look at for next meeting, perhaps? I'm not sure who's.
Yep.
Yep.
No, absolutely, because the finance group that issues those on the county's behalf is under me. So I'll work with Angela's group and our group and just contain it all so we get a summary.
We can get all on the same page. That'd be great. Thank you, Heather.
Yep.
Okay, if there's nothing else on either those 7.1 or 7.2, we'll need a motion to receive both of these reports, please. Councillor Pierce, and seconded by Member Brown. And all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, in our packages under number 8, under communications, the first item, 8.1, is from Constable Buchert. Did I say that correctly? Oh, good. Buchert, Jonathan Buchert, and you'll see his message there. He's the Special Olympics contact for the Brant detachment, and also a Special Olympics coach. And he is trying to kind of revive the connection with Brant OPP and the Special Olympics, and the work that they do together. He did a polar plunge back on the 21st of February. I saw the video. He actually did it. Brave guy to do that, because that looked pretty cold. Anyways, he sent this to me. I'm bringing it to your attention. I'm not sure if Police Services Board is wishing to support his efforts with the donation. I'll leave it open for discussion here based on his email. What's the wishes of the board? Anything? Okay, well, I guess if there's no, Mayor Bailey?
Well, I've attended these events at Tollgate Tech in Brantford with Mayor Davis and Phil McColeman and Mr. Bauma. They're kind of a big deal. I don't know how they get their funding. I don't know whether it's sort of a barbecue kind of a deal, or whether it's bigger money, whether you want to go to the community or community donations. I don't know how much money they're asking for. Does anyone know what the ask looks like?
My understanding was this is his personal fundraising efforts towards the Special Olympics. There wasn't anything, there wasn't a dollar amount requested. It was more if there was anything anybody wanted to sponsor him for the plunge. I'm sure there'll be future communications about Special Olympics and the detachment down the road. I don't know, Inspector Ferguson or Staff Sergeant Gutenberg, do you have any additional information?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. We all received Constable Buchert's link here, and we were able to go on and give our own personal donations right to his link. And he's going to work with another member of our detachment to do some fundraising throughout the year for Special Olympics. So you're right, there isn't a specific ask, just if anybody is interested.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did the similar thing. I did a personal donation on the link as well. There's no dollar amount being requested, but he did ask me to bring it forward to Police Services Board, so I am at this time. I don't have a proposal for you, but if I know we've supported other things, but if we want to wait for other initiatives from Jonathan down the road in the rest of the year, we can do that as well. So seeing nothing at this time, we'll take for information and keep an eye out for future opportunities that he may be involved in. Okay, so 8.2, page 35, is another reminder of the call for nominations for the OAPSB Board of Directors. I'm not sure if there's any additional information that's required. Nominations are required by April 1st to be submitted for this provincial board. Okay. 8.3 is the final tally of the county share of the provincial offenses funds that were collected. It's, you can see on both sides of the page what will be coming, the cost share, and what will be coming back to the county in terms of the revenue and how that's all calculated based on the items that they have. Any discussion on that? I mean, that's nothing that, it's not that it comes to our budget, right? It goes to the county. Item 8.4, I know we talked about this at our previous meeting. There is some timelines coming up here. The OAPSB Spring Conference is now going to be a hybrid of in-person and virtual, May 26th and 27th in Toronto Airport. Not sure if there's people ready to commit to the timelines now so that Nancy can get people registered, but I believe early bird rates are available until April 1st. Member Brown?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yes, I think if it's like the one that you and I first attended, it's very well worthwhile. The contacts and the content was very appropriate. If the opportunity exists, I would like to go take the hybrid version and attend in person.
I would be the same as Member Brown. I would prefer to attend in person if possible versus online. But I'm not sure if the rest of PSB has looked at their calendars or if they're interested in attending or not. So do we want to make a motion today to allow myself and Member Brown to register and attend, and then if any others want to still register after that, at next meeting, we can it'll be after the deadline, the early bird deadline, or is everybody comfortable with that? Councillor Pierce, yeah, Member Verhey?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I was just going to say, and I got to consider this a little bit more closely. Month of May is the busiest month of the year, entire year for me. So I just want to think about that. And if I can follow up later, that would be good.
So the motion today would be to register myself and Member Brown to attend the in-person event May 26th and 27th in Toronto with the registration fees covered by our training and conference budget, I believe it is. Is that correct? Mayor Bailey, will you make that motion?
I will.
Okay. And seconded by Councillor Pierce. Nancy, is there something else that you need for that?
Yeah, you mentioned registration fees. I just want to encapsulate that it's all fees are covered.
All meeting, like all expenses.
All expenses.
Yeah. Hotel, registration. Yeah. Okay.
All expenses, big trip.
To Toronto. Mayor Bailey?
Yeah, and having been to these conventions before when I was chair and vice chair, they are very important for the current chair and vice chair to attend them. Everything you'll hear, you'll remember and you'll bring back to us. So
Yeah.
I think it's great that you're both going.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. I know Member Brown and I were, we learned a lot that first time that we went. And then of course, the last two have been on virtual, and it's not quite the same, making those connections and being able to talk to people. So we do have the motion then to cover the costs, the expenses of attending this conference for myself and Member Brown. Mayor Bailey made the motion, Councillor Pierce seconded, and then all those in favor of that? Okay, that's carried. Okay, so then we move into section 9, council Communications, any updates from Councillor Pierce?
Not at this time, Madam Chair. Just the fact that, we kind of touched on it earlier in regards to the photo radar and that sort of stuff. There's, we are trudging forward as a council because we support the idea. But, as was stated earlier, there's definitely been a whole lot more to it than what we originally thought. So, but we are still pushing forward on that. So that's a good news story. And again, I guess, I've heard it from a couple other councillors and I know myself, the feedback from the community is the fact that, they're seeing more police presence. So again, as a council and as a community, thank you for that.
Councillor Pierce, you mentioned about speed spy data that came to you maybe through council or through one of your committees from the Brant Safe Streets program. Is that something that can be shared just for information with PSB members, just to understand some of the different data that gets, or is that already available? Maybe Inspector Ferguson mentioned.
Sorry, Madam Chair. My understanding is that data is available, but I'll look into that for sure. But yeah, as I said to Marcos earlier, it was quite interesting when some of the data came back. You kind of went, oh, I thought they were moving quicker. But yeah, I'll look into that for sure.
I made a mistake. I need to backtrack and get a motion to receive items 8.1, 8.2, and 8.5, I think it is, for the addendum for the Paris community policing minutes. So to receive those for information under the communications item. Thank you, Mayor Bailey and Member Verhey. All those in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so if that's something you can do, Councillor Pierce, I think it would be just good context for the rest of the PSB members to understand what kind of data is available and what comes out of those that tracking. It's not that we will be operationalizing anything, but just to have the context, I think would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? Sorry, Councillor Pierce. Again,
Nope.
Thank you to council for supporting the Challenge Coin project. That was much appreciated.
Happy to do so.
Member Verhey, anything from Zone 4 OAPSB?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, not really. I mean, the minutes were sent around, I think, last week, and it's fairly clearly laid out there. It's very quiet time right now. It's a lot of transition, I guess, about to happen. So the only things that were kind of noteworthy in the meeting were the presentation from Rachel Huggins from the OPP regarding the cannabis topic, which was informative, and then the other big one was the nominations for Zone 4, because as you've seen that Kurt Allen's stepping down after a few good years of service, so that'll be a tough spot to fill. And then, of course, due to the whole there's no executive director right now, so there's a search firm involved and whatever. Like I said, it's all in the minutes there, but it's kind of in this transition period with more just holding to the formalities. So it was a quick and efficient meeting, and the next one's slated for May.
Member, hey, just for context, we don't know what minutes you're talking about, so we haven't seen any Zone 4 minutes. So when you reference that, we haven't seen them yet. So just wanted you to be aware of that.
Sorry, I thought I saw them come around through Nancy, forwarded from our secretary at Zone 4 there, Kimberly. Nancy, am I misquoting there?
I believe they were circulated as well. I'll look back into that and forward them again.
That'd be great, because obviously I don't recall seeing them, but if they were sent out, I apologize. Okay. But at either rate, I don't know that any of us have the context of what you're referring to. So
sorry, no,
yeah.
And like I said, I highlighted those few items regarding the cannabis presentation from OPP and Zone 4 nominations, as well as an executive search firm has been engaged by the OAPSB for a new executive director. That chair has been vacant for some months now. And once they get that position filled, we have a new leader at the helm, then there's going to be some strategic planning happening in terms of the future of this organization. So That's all I have to really report.
Great. Thank you very much. On the chair's update, I'll just share with you, I previously circulated an email from a webinar that member Brown and I attended that was organized by the Canadian Association of Police Governance, which is, my understanding is the national equivalent to OAPSB, just a different name. They organized a webinar on given the situations that we've had in the past few months. They wanted to see what the temperature was in terms of police services boards and how people are managing. There was quite a lot of conversation. And as you saw in the email I sent out to you, there was a couple of follow-up items that they're going to be looking into in terms of resources available to police services boards, and how to help deal with some of the challenges. I mean, us as a Section 10 may be a little bit different than some of the municipally appointed boards. City of Ottawa, for example, was discussed quite a bit in terms of their reaction to the Ottawa occupation. And so there was a lot of concern expressed about competencies of police service board members and appointments and how are they made and the role that they perform and that type of thing. So it was a very interesting discussion. Member Brown, I'm not sure if you have anything you want to add to that. No, okay. So that there may be some follow-up to that as well. And I believe they're going to be adding some similar type of topics to their conference program in September. I believe they have a conference. I shared the minutes that Edith Stone provided for the Paris community group. I do want to correct at the last meeting I mentioned that they didn't meet. They did meet in person in December and then had to wait January with the restrictions until they could open back up again to meet in person again. So I maybe miscommunicated that. So I do want to apologize. They did meet. I did attend their last meeting last week. It was held at the detachment building, and they had a good representation of folks out. They had a presentation from OPP Auxiliary on the Safeguard program in terms of how you can do some safety checks on your home. They are planning to do a bike rodeo in June for Paris, for the kids in Paris to do bike safety rodeo. And they just did a second lock it or lose it blitz in Paris and had quite a number of, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but opportunities to educate the public in terms of valuables left in the car, cars being left unlocked. They seem that was successful for them. They do have a high school student that they're working with as well for some community volunteer hours. So this group, Edith is the chair. She'll be sending the minutes to us on a regular basis, just so that we can stay informed and up to date on some of the things that they're working on as well. I thought that would be a good opportunity for us to have that open communication with them. And they have a number of things that they're still working on. They're trying to do some communications outreach, and Inspector Ferguson and I still need to follow up on some concerns that they have with the naming of their group. And so now that Inspector Ferguson's back and in the detachment, we'll follow up on that. They were understanding, of course, of that. And then lastly, I have a community safety and well-being planning meeting coming up at the end of the month. That's kind of been resurfaced, I think, to talk about like a 5-year review action plan. So I'll have more information on that. I believe Inspector Ferguson will be attending that meeting as well. And we'll have some more information if there's any outcomes on that at our next meeting. I think that is all for now. Always busy, it's always good. Member Brown?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think it's really important right now that we recognize that we've gone through probably one of the most trying times in our recent history with protests. We've had a bad month of weather, and there's been all sorts of other challenges with personnel. I've spent a fair bit of time in the last few weeks with the public in around Brant County, and I've not heard one comment other than the one this morning about the wrong police car being in the wrong place. We've gone through this with basically without a blip with policing in Brant County. I think that there's a lot of credit that needs to be given to Inspector Ferguson, staff Gutenberg, and all of the OPP, because I don't think we've suffered anything. And I know that there's been a large number of secondments and a large number of personnel being retasked. And I'm sure it wasn't 5-star hotels that they were put in, but I haven't heard any negative from this in regards to our detachment. And I think that they ought to be praised for the good work that they've done.
Agreed. I'll second that. Mayor Bailey?
If I had a commemorative coin, I would give it to you.
Maybe we should strike a mayor's coin. Don't give you any ideas, right? Is there, yeah, so it's been a busy time. I think one of the other things, Inspector Ferguson, I'll highlight with you is I had a couple of questions about whether we'd be having town hall meetings again. And I said, obviously, yes, the idea is that yes, we would have those again when it's okay to do so. And that it's a great opportunity for us to get the community feedback and engagement. So I didn't commit to any dates or times, but just I hope that was okay that we said yes, we would. And then the other feedback I had from a couple of folks is just that they appreciate, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, is they appreciate that our meetings are online and available to watch after our PSB meetings. And there was a concern maybe that once we got back to in-person meetings, that maybe that would not be available. They feel that there's better accessibility for us. And I communicated that it was our desire to still stay in this, be in person, but still be able to broadcast the meetings in the future whenever that time comes. And I know Member Verhey, you had some questions of me about when are we getting back together in person, in-person meetings. And I believe our Secretary Nancy mentioned that there's a process council's going through to get back to return to in-person. So once they get that in place, then we'll be able to then mobilize our group to then get back in place. I'm not sure if Councillor Pierce or Mayor Bailey or Nancy, if anybody has anything you want to add to that, if I've misspoke or anything, but would that mean maybe April potentially would be in person? I'm not sure. Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. We just had this at our last council meeting, and the what was approved was the fact that we're going to do like a hybrid. And to your point there, still have the possibility of the online and that sort of thing. But as council, we're looking at the end of April council meeting to be our first in-person meeting again. So I would suggest that that after that time, all the other committees and stuff like that will probably start rolling out. But it was a good conversation, and the thought was the fact that, you know, the options were, do we go completely in person and get rid of the online, and the thought was, well, you know, we've just come through a couple of years where, you know, it's worked fairly well, and it's allowed more people to be, you know, part of meetings and that sort of thing. So we're going in as a hybrid, and then we'll kind of revisit it down the road when the time comes. But the April, I can't see my calendar right now, but the end of April council meeting will be our first in-person meeting again.
So then, Member Verhey, I think we're looking at post end of April then, before PSB will be back in person.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, Mayor Bailey?
Yeah, and the other thing that that you should remember or consider, Madam Chair, before you make any decisions, is the way we're doing it right now today is very compact and very easy and very clear. Once we go to hybrid, and there's some examples that you can watch some other council meetings in other cities near us, even Brantford, where they've tried to open, I think maybe a little bit too soon, and things don't work, cameras don't work. You see people going from room to room. It's very, some of it is a little bit unsettling and a little bit hard to follow. So you might want to wait and see what happens to us on the last Tuesday of April, and hopefully it will go smooth. But remember that what we've been doing for 2 years isn't awful.
Nope.
For some certain committees, it's very easy and very clear and very easy to understand. So let's not jump out just because we can. There's a lot of things that the County of Brant can do, but we shouldn't just because we can. And this might be one of them, because I think as people watching this meeting will agree to, it's easily understood. And once things start going wrong, you could lose the whole sort of concept of your meeting. And once you do that a couple of times, people will lose interest in the subject matter. So don't run out too soon until you're sure that you've got a safe place to run.
Mayor Bailey, I am someone who has embraced the technology of the past 2 years and the efficiencies that we have gained in our schedules. I'm not really sure that I'm looking forward to all. I don't need to go back in person for every single thing, although it would be nice to see people in person once in a while. But I know that it was a question that Member Verhey had specifically about when we would be returning to in-person meetings. So when, like you said, Mayor Bailey, we would be waiting for your signal, I think, is in terms of the process. And I'm not a fan of hybrid meetings where some are there, some aren't there. It's either we're in person or we're online, but being able to still publicly broadcast our meetings and have them available online afterwards, I think we've already made that decision. Yeah, so I think for now, Member Verhey, I think unless you have anything else you want to add, I think we're looking to see how the end of April goes for council, and then we'll have a better idea of what that means for our meetings. Make sense? Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to add there then? Okay. Is there any in-camera discussions or topics that need to be reviewed? No? Well, today is an efficient day then. Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just very quickly, my apologies to Inspector Ferguson. I finally got that picture of the stained glass, and I've got the measurements and all that, so I will fire that over to you. But just for committee's awareness, I'm going to share a better picture than I did the other day, just so you can see what that looks like. Can you see my screen? Can you see the picture?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, as I say, that's a better picture of what it looks like, and I've got the measurements of it, and I've got the weight of it and all that kind of stuff. So, but again, it's pretty cool thinking that came out of the old police station, and my mom was quite happy the fact that you're willing to put it in the detachment. So that's cool, and I'll get that information to you, and we'll go from there.
Great. Piece of history. Is there anything else then that anybody wants to? We're early, which is good. We found some time in your day to get all the other things that are on your to-do list done.
Yes.
So if that is the case and there's nothing else to discuss, our next meeting is Tuesday, April 19th. Inspector Ferguson and I will be attending the April 12th meeting of, I don't know what the committee's name is, policy, strategic something. I don't know all the names. Sorry, you have so many committees to remember. Inspector Ferguson, were you going to help me out there?
Yeah, it's the Policy and Development meeting.
Oh, I was close. Thank you. Policy and Development Committee meeting. So we'll be attending that to provide an update. It's as our check-in with council, like that we had talked about doing for quite some time. So we'll be at that committee meeting. I believe the committee versus full council is to give us more time for discussion and presentation. Mayor Bailey?
And just a note, since we are going out on a kumbaya moment, Jennifer, you're doing a wonderful job as the chair, and Jim, you're doing a wonderful job supporting Jennifer. So you really are. I've seen chairs come and go, and you've taken this very seriously, and you're very efficient, and you're getting a lot done. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. Appreciate that. And thanks to everybody for working together as a team. We've managed to come through all this time together, so that's great. Okay, well, it's 20 after 10. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know you're all busy. We'll see you again on the 19th of April.
Have a great day, all.